Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnururukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Vritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmamavatu, tadbhaktaramavatu, avatu mam, avatu bhaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu. सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ ब्रह्मविदाप्नोति परम् तदेशाभ्युक्ता सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं ब्रह्म यो वेदनिहितं गुहायां परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति. We are in the middle of this discussion. Why Bhashyakara has quoted this particular Mundaka Shruti Vakya. And what is that? Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. And what are the implications of that? That is what we are looking at. The implications of this Shrutyantaram, this another Shruti that is being talked about. What are the implications? And so we have been discussing this, so the knower of Brahman, again the word Bhavati, even though it is tempting to say becomes, there is no becoming here. We have to just say is. So the knower of Brahman is Brahman. Okay, that is fact number 1 from the Shruti. And then another thing that we hear from this Shruti is, the first line is what? Brahmavit apnoti param. And then that word param we saw yesterday, Niratishayam. Niratishayam means without any sankochaka, without any restrictive things. And then there is nothing to restrict it, no time, no place, no nothing. And object-wise limitations are not there. Deshataraha, kalataha, vastutaha, aparichinnaha. So, not restricted by anything. This much we saw. So this param, which we also saw one more thing, that this param is in the form of ananda, ananda swarupa. And this ananda is not the same as Vishayananda. Although Vishayananda is not outside of Brahmananda, Brahmananda is not Vishayananda. I'm just, summarizing this. Some people are looking at me as though they are hearing it for the first time. No, you have already heard it. This is just a summary, so it may look different because we are just, talking about the main points here. So the ananda that is experienced in the form of chocolate cake, etc., is not outside of Brahman, but Brahmananda, when you say, is not any particular kind of one type of ananda that is experienced because of two reasons. Because otherwise Brahman will be one more thing in the universe. It will be finite, it will be limited. If Brahman was a special ananda experience, like we have Rasagullananda and then we have Brahmananda, then what will happen? Then Brahman will be one more Bengali sweet, okay, sitting in the counter, and then so that is not the case. So therefore, there is that, for lack of a better term, we can use this word now, transcendental quality here, in the sense that every ananda that one experiences necessarily is not outside of Brahman, but Brahman is not any one particular type of ananda, because otherwise there will be anantyahani. Anantyahani means there will be a loss of one's, the loss of infinitude for Brahman. So therefore, so this is just a recap. So then we saw that this Param is in the form of Ananda. Ananda means limitless, and that which is limitless is definitely joyful. But it is not a joy where the knower-known difference, is exacerbated or built up on the knower-known difference. So it's not a joy experience that is built upon the experiencer and the object of experience, pramata, prameya, like that. That is not the case. So what kind of a joy is? It is an ananda. It is ananda which is swarupananda, which is centered on the truth of oneself. And what is this oneself? That which is free of being the knower, that which is free of being the known, that which is free of being a means of knowledge that connects the knower and the known. But how can it be like this? That's what. Brahman is not an experience. It is the content of the experiencer. It's the content of every experience, and it is the truth of the means of knowledge also that is deployed. So therefore, this is something which is extremely important to understand. That while every branch of knowledge reinstates the knower as the important ahankara which is in charge, Vedanta knocks off the knower and reveals the knowing being who is not outside of any experience. But it's not experienced as an object. Every experience is Brahman, therefore Brahman cannot be any one particular experience. So this is Param. Now, the juxtaposition of these two sentences, two Shruti Vakyas, this Shruti, what is this? Taittiriya Shruti says, Brahmavit apnoti param, which means the knower of Brahman gains the ultimate, gains param, gains something which is, the absolute, beyond which there is nothing. And then the next Shruti, what does it say? The next Shruti says, Brahmavit Brahmaiva bhavati. So if we contrast, put those two Shruti Vakyas, the sentences of the Shruti side by side, we get something very fantastic. We come to the conclusion that the Param being talked about by this Shruti, Prakritam, that which is under discussion, is non-separate from what? From the Brahman alone. So Brahmavit Brahmaiva bhavati means there is no other Param other than Brahman. Brahma Brahmaiva Param. And that Param bhavati. So one is that Param which one is in search of. One wants to be Param, because nothing else suffices. One is not happy, having anything. If you know that there is something beyond this, you want that. And so therefore, that Param is Brahman alone. We get from this quotation, from the force of this quotation, which is a very, very wonderful thing. And then the second thing we get is that unlike pursuing an object in time or in space, like an object of Vishayananda, like the object gaining which you get happy, you become happy, so to speak. So that Vishayananda is, calls for sadhana, the sadhana apeksha is there. Sadhana apeksha is there for what? For anything that is, that comes under some kind of an ananda, laukika ananda. The ananda that is dependent upon the I, connecting to something that is not I through a means of knowledge, and then enjoying that not I. So that ananda, the ananda in the world is based on sadhana. Because it's not just enough to desire something. I would like chocolate cake. Well, unless you are Mahavishnu or some kind of a devata, the chocolate cake is not going to manifest itself. You have to bake it, or you have to buy it. So if you bake it again, ingredients apeksha is there. And even if you have the ingredients, you can't just look at them. When you look at the flour, look at the chocolate, cocoa powder, and look at the sugar and the butter, nothing is going to happen. And so some you have to beat it, you have to put it all together, put it in the oven at 350 degrees or whatever the recipe calls for, and then 45 minutes later then you cool it, and then the cake is ready to eat. Then you put an icing, and then after that you eat it. This is how it is in the world. This sadhana apeksha is there for eking out every experience of ananda, but for Brahman there is no sadhanantara. The vetritvam, the knowing itself is the sadhana. Shravanam is the mukhya sadhana for Brahman. So there is no other sadhana. What other sadhana is there? It doesn't beg any other sadhana. Whereas all objects of desires, vishayas, they expect you to do something in order to gain them. That's why the word vishaya has come from the root verb vishinoti badhnati. That which binds is called vishaya. Very interesting. And so now, the Brahmavit apnoti param and Brahmavit brahmaiva bhavati are one and the same. They are sentences which shed their light on one another and reveal the fact that this param is nothing else than Brahman. And then, the pursuit of Brahman. So this is the first thing. Second thing which we studied is that the pursuit of Brahman does not call for any kind of sadhana. What is sadhana? Sadhana means there is nothing to do. There is nothing to gain. There is nothing to want. There is nothing to, there is no hard work involved here. I have to produce something, I have to lose something, I have to get something. Nothing. It just is, and it happens to be you. And that is what has to be discovered. This is what is going to be told. So then that second thing we saw is that it is not something. Knowing Brahman does not require to stand on one leg and meditate or do whatever it is, and if you go to this Kumbh Mela, you see all these people in sadhana in various things. There is one person who's got his hand like this, pointing to the sky. Upar Haath Wale Baba, he is known as. And then somebody asked him, where is Bhagavan? And he pointed up and then went into a trance and forgot to withdraw the hand, and then it just got atrophied like that. So that became some kind of a sadhana for him. But that's not the point. The sadhana, if you want to, but what if I want to stand on one leg and meditate? By all means do that, okay? Yeah, I'm not going to come in the way. You can meditate by standing on one leg or standing on the hand, do a handstand and meditate, no problem. But that's not going to give you Brahman, because Brahman is not an object. So, but it may help you to have some what we call antahkarana shuddhi, where the inner instrument, the mind, the heart, etc. are cleared of strong preferences, prejudices, raga, dvesha, and you are more available for the knowledge. That is, that is the difference. So this sadhanantara is not there. There is no other sadhana than the pursuit itself is the sadhana. And so that is, that is the second thing which we saw yesterday. And then so then this is where we left it yesterday. So now today we see that that if there is no sadhanantara apeksha, if there is no action between the knower of a given thing and that and the given thing itself, whatever it is. So if there is no distance between the two, still the person says, meaning if the knower of Brahman is already Brahman, then still the person says, I don't know Brahman, even though I am already Brahman, I don't know Brahman. Then what kind of a not knowing is it? What kind of a not knowing is it? It is, because it is a non-recognition. Samsara is the suffering of non-recognizing oneself as Brahman, as the biggest and the most limitless thing there is, which is I, which is the truth of I. That non-recognition causes problems. And to that end, the non-recognition of Brahman is brought in very beautifully by Bhashyakara, responding to a Purva Paksha. And what is that Purva Paksha? The Purva Pakshi is a very educated Purva Pakshi. Purva Paksha means an objection. And then Samadhanam means a resolution for that objection. And so what is the Purva Paksha here? The Purva Pakshi says, well, I object. All right, we've hardly begun. We've just hardly got into the text. We have barely reached the first end of the first sentence. Brahmavid apnoti param. Only 3 words. And we have unfolded them with great love and care, and in line with all the painstaking unfoldment which the gurus before us have done. And then suddenly you have an objection. What can be your objection? We have hardly got into the text. It's like a court case, The prosecution stands up and says, good evening or good morning, Your Honor, to the judge. We wish to show. And then just even before that, objection. Objection, Your Honor. What is there to object? We've hardly made any statement at all. But apparently this is enough of an objection. And this Purva Pakshi, this objector, he has got keen ears. You think you are doing Shravanam, but this fellow is really listening so closely to each and everything. This is, so great fun when we get into this objection. So, you're listening very closely, and the Purva Pakshi is very logical and educated. And so, all this makes for a very fun objection and an even fun answer. Where are we now? I'm looking for this here. Satyam, I think I'm a little ahead of myself. Yeah, I went to the second objection. So here, so we can repeat now. Nanu Sarvagatam Sarvasya cha Atmabhutam Brahma Vakshati
Atmabhutam Brahma Vakshati
Ataha Na Apyam. Yeah, very educated Purva Pakshi. Nanu means, hey, look here, look at me. I have something to say right now. What? This Brahman, Vakshyati, and we have to add Shrutihi. The Shruti, the text, the Upanishad called the Taittiriya, will say, Vakshyati. What will it say? Sarvagatam Brahma. Sarvasya Atma Bhutam Brahma iti Vakshyati. It is going to reveal Brahman. Meaning what? The Purva Pakshi, the objector, has already studied this Upanishad, has read the Upanishad, and is familiar with what Brahman is. Okay? So, which, he or she is not looking at the, is not contending, that there is such a thing as Brahman and you are wrong and there is nothing like Brahman. No. The Purva Pakshi is going along with the text and says something which is very interesting. The Purva Pakshi says that look, this Brahman is going to be revealed in a particular manner by the Shruti. As what? Sarvagatam. Sarvagatam means it is everywhere. Here a Brahman, there a Brahman, everywhere Brahman, Brahman. This is what it is. Brahman is not in one place. Why? Simple. Place is Brahman. Brahman does not appear at a particular time. Why? Time is Brahman. Space is Brahman. And the one who is looking for Brahman, that is also Brahman. And so there is really, so it is Sarvagata. And it's very interesting. Sarvagatam means it is all pervasive. Yasmat akashadi adini bhutani sambhutani, because from which all the elements have come. And akasha, space, fire, air, all of them, earth, water, all of them have come from Brahman alone. This is the source of everything. Therefore it is Sarvagatam. So Vayu is Brahman. Even in this mantra, in the opening Shanti Path, Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. Namaste unto Vayu, I look upon you as the most directly perceptible form of Brahman. Vayu is Brahman. Prana is Brahman. Fire is Brahman. Air is Brahman. Water is Brahman. Earth, of course, is Brahman. Brahman is not any one of them. It lends its presence and its sentience to all things without becoming any one thing. So therefore it is Sarvagatam. It is Sarvagatam in the form of the 5 elements in your own body. We saw in the Chandogya Upanishad thing, Trivrit, Ekaika Bhavati. So the 3 elements were taken there, and then what happens? You find them inextricably linked and it is available. They are available in the human body in the form of bones, in the form of water, in the form of air, in the form of one's own hunger and thirst. Ashanaya. So Ashitam Nayati iti Ashanaya. So very interesting. The interesting derivations were given. So the word for water is actually hunger. What is the connection? Because, when you eat, then something has to take all the things that are eaten. Otherwise, it will just sit in the gullet. And then you don't need a stick to push the thing that you have eaten, inside the gullet. It will sit in the esophagus. So what do? You drink. So the desire to eat happens after the water has cleared what you have eaten before. Very interesting. And then, so Ashanaya was derived like this. So therefore, that whatever is here is in the form of these devatas, these functionaries, these celestials. Each one is a self-shining, functionary that takes care of various things, both within the body and in nature. And so, Tasmat, therefore, what is Brahman? Sarvagatam. And not only is it Sarvagatam, Sarvasya cha Atma Bhutam Brahma. Atma Bhutam means it is the truth of everything. Sarvasya cha Atma Bhutam. It is the truth of the rivers, the trees. So tree is Brahman, river is Brahman, everything is Brahman. Everything is Brahman, Brahman alone. And so therefore it is totally connected to It is totally connected to, what is that, it is totally connected to each and everything. That which fills up all the nama rupas. It is the Atma of everything. It is the I in you, the I in me, the I in the tree, the I in the mountain, the I in the rock. Everything. Because all that is there, it is that only. And so it is the I in everything. And so therefore what? Sarvasya cha Atma Bhutam Brahma Vakshyati. Shrutihi. The Shruti is going to unfold Brahman only in this manner. You may not have studied this. I have already peeked into the pages of the Upanishad and I know that this is what it is. So how can you say, this is something to be gained? I want to gain space. What do you mean you want to gain space? No, I want space. Look in your head. That's why you are so spaced out and you are asking this question. You can't hold space. You can't hold, even wind you cannot catch and hold. So saying like I want to gain Brahman means it's something like saying I want to trap space in a jar. A very jarring thought, because it is just not possible. And so therefore what? Ataha na apyam. Therefore the objection says that Brahmavid apnoti param. And this param may be Brahman, doesn't matter. That's not my problem here. That's not my, that's not my contention. My contention is that this apnote hai. For this apnoti, we have to really have a charcha, we have to have a discussion, because this apnoti is not possible. Why? It is not apyam. What is apyam? Apyam means that something is gained which one doesn't have. So one goes somewhere away from oneself and gets something, and that is what is called apti. He is going to clarify this a little further. Aptischa anyasya anyena parichinnasya cha parichinnena drishta. So aptihi drishta, that is the sentence. Very, very nice. Aptihi drishta. Aptihi means gain of something is seen. Where is it seen? How is it seen? That will be available in the rest of the sentence, which is qualifying. Aptihi drishta. Apti feminine, so drishta. So the gain is seen. Where this is a laukika drishtanta. It is it is a worldly example. Where is it seen? Loke, we have to add. In the world it is seen. Anyasya anyena anyasya parichinnasya anyena parichinnena cha drishta. So the apti, when we talk of gain of something, it is generally seen how when you have anyaha san, anyat, something else, the person pursues. So you have a finite entity in the form of one particular jiva going after another object. This is what is called apti. And what is that object? So it's two limited people. Parichinnasya cha parichinnena. So the parichinnena jivena parichinnasya vishayasya aptihi loke drishta. So what have we seen? So in the world we see people pursuing things all the time. But why do they pursue things? Because they feel finite, and the person who thinks of herself or himself as finite pursues another thing that is also finite. So that is why limited plus limited, what does it yield? Doubly limited. Yeah. And if you start a company, it will be private limited, but still limited. It's all limited. So in the beginning there is aham, I, and then us both, avam, And then what? Still limited. And then Vayam, all of us, meaning children have come into the picture, still limited. This is how it is. The limited, the individual suffering from a sense or a notion of limitation keeps on pursuing another thing which is also finite, in the hope that gaining that finite object one will become infinite. A very unbecoming thought, because one doesn't become infinite. Infinity is not something to become, it's not a product that is gained in time, it simply is. And here, that infinity, which whatever we are talking about, is non-separate from you. So this is a very interesting laukika drishtanta. And then so therefore what? So this laukika drishtanta is there, and then so this there is an objection that this Brahma ataha na apyam. And then further he says aparichinnam sarvatmakam cha Brahma. So what is this Brahman? Aparichinna, not confined by time, by space, by object, by or any sense of limitation. And sarvatmakam, it is the Atma of everything, it is the self of everything. There is just one self, and that self is Brahman, and which is infinite and which is all pervasive. Ityataha parichinna vadanatmavat tasya aptihi anupapanna. So tasya aptihi, brahmana aptihi anupapanna. Anupapanna means untenable. So the gain of Brahman is untenable. Why? Because it is because of this fact that it is parichinnavat anatmavat cha. Because if you go about trying to gain Brahman in this particular manner of gaining all other objects in the universe, there are two problems that come up. First of all, Brahman becomes parichinna, finite, and then it has the dosha of anatmatvam. What is anatmatvam? It's not you anymore. Yeah, it becomes not you, meaning any other objects. Because you see, there is a whole world of Atma and Anatma. What is Atma? Self. And what is this self? Me. Simple. I. And then what is not I? Anything that is outside the sense of touch, not I. So are you here? Yes. I feel here. So I have a sense of touch here. Do you exist here? No. That is just space. Not me. Me, not me. Me, not me. Me, not me. See how arbitrary the sense of I is? The sense of I is all pervasive, pervades the body in the form of the sense of touch. So as long as the sense of touch is there, then the sense of I, the I sense is there. So I, and then anything that is away from this I, not I. This is how one leads one's life. The I and the not I, always, and the not I consumes the I, because there is only one I, which is this poor old me. And then all these, the world of Anatma is huge. And in this world of not I, Anatma, then some things are desirable. I want this, I want that, I want this, and after I want that, I want this also, and then I want some more, something. And then what? The rest of the things, take them away. I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I can't have this, I must not gain this. Don't want this. So the Anatma is divided into two. I love this. This is in the form, this is in the language of the 2-year-old. I love this. And then the other one is what? I hate this. This is what it is. So then, from the standpoint of, this Atma, Anatma is very interesting, because from the standpoint of Brahman, Everything is I alone. There is no anatma. What is anatma? Because it is sarvatma. It is the atma of everything. It is the atma of all the things that are there. It is the atma of everybody. It is the truth of everybody. Nothing is away from it. So from the standpoint of the Paramarthika Satta, means from the standpoint of the absolute reality, there is no such thing called not I. Everything is I alone. Then what is this not I? The not I is only from the standpoint of Mithya. Mithya means what? The dependent reality, the world of names and forms which depend on this I for their sustenance, for their existence, for their sentience. That is what is Mithya. And in the world, this distinction is very much there. I, as a pursuer, keeps on looking for things to hold on to, keeps on looking for things to pursue other than myself, because I don't know who I am. I'm looking for a sense of completion. I'm looking for a sense of fullness. I'm looking for a sense of bigness, whatever that be. And so therefore, this is something which is, parichinnavat anatmavaccha tasya aptihi. Therefore, anupapanna. It is not possible to gain Brahman. Why? Because if you gain it, it will be like gaining any other thing in the universe. After a while, you get bored of it and then you drop it. Then on to the new thing. This is what it is. On to the new thing. And everybody just waits with bated breath. When is the new, what is that called, iPhone coming on the market? When is that going to come? And what features will it have? So many guesswork. Oh, will it have this feature? Will it have that? And can I do this? Can I do that with it? Will it make coffee for me? Perhaps another generation of the phones may do that. And will it help me do this? Will it help me do that? There's so much anticipation. And the companies also, whether it is that, what is that, Apple, or if it is some other, company, Samsung, etc., they will make the anticipation extremely, suspenseful by dropping some hints and by dropping some kind of some little ad, a little sneak preview, a little trailer of sorts. And then the akanksha for that, the desire for that gets extremely, strong, because one has seen a little bit of this, one has known a little bit of this, and so one wants this very, 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 very badly. And so the desire is created, and then the desire is, and then the object of desire is presented. And then, so therefore that is what is, then if Brahman is like that, the desire is created, and then what? Brahman is something like iPhone. And then what? You just go and get it, and then, then it becomes anatma. So this atma, anatma distinction is only from the standpoint of the empirical world, the reality, which is called mithya. Mithya is an order of reality, which is the empirical world, which is the seen world of names and forms and transactions in which we live. So from that standpoint, then, you can have all the desires for all these things and you can gain them, no problem. But when we talk about Brahman, it is not something to be gained. Why? Because it is not an object, simple. And it is not away from you. That is also because it is Sarvatma. So then, so this is the objection that is levelled against Brahman here. And let us see what Adi Shankara says. Nayam doshaha.
Nayam doshaha.
Katham. Darshana. Apekshatvat brahmanah.
Apti. Apti.
Anaptyoho.
Anaptyoho.
Yeah. So he says, this is not a problem. You think that you have a very erudite objection. And I respect you for that, not a problem. But really speaking, this is not at all a problem. Why is this not a problem? This is not a problem primarily because this is not an issue which we really need to entertain. Why? Because aptam brahma is what? The gained Brahman is nothing other than jnatam Brahma. Because the word Brahmavit is there. Vit means the one who knows. So a gained Brahman is a known Brahman. And since you can only know Brahman as yourself, so that is what we are talking about. So apti anaptayoho, between the gain and the non-gain, what is there? What is the distance between the Brahman that is gained and the Brahman that is not gained? The distance is not something connected to space or even time. The distance is one of knowledge or ignorance. Here described by the word darshana, adarshana apekshatvat. So darshana means what? Seeing this Brahman. Seeing means knowing here. And then not seeing Brahman as oneself. That is the problem here. So a known Brahman, so jnatam Brahma is known as aptam Brahma. So a known Brahman is a gained Brahman. A not known Brahman, an unknown Brahman is ungained Brahman. This is what we are talking about. We are not talking about anything else. Non Brahman is what is what is called aptam Brahma. And so this apti is figurative in nature. Figurative in nature. So then this this objection, what does this objection do? This apti apnotehe vicharah kriyate. So Adi Shankara uses this objection to get rid of this idea that you have to gain this Brahman just like you gain something in life, like some cloud, some kind of a thing, etc., etc. You have to gain something away from you. Like a town that you haven't visited, so you have to catch a plane, take a bus or drive there, so which is away from you. But what is here? Here we have a very interesting situation. Why? Because this is darshana adarshana apeksha. When we talk of apti, then the gain or reaching Brahman, then there is what? There is the idea that previously it wasn't gained, now it is gained. So how can this all-pervasive Brahman become ungained? How is this possible? Well, because of avidya. Because of avidya it is ungained, unknown. So therefore, the difference between a gained Brahman and a not gained Brahman is a recognized Brahman. Brahman which is recognized as oneself is seen as gained. Praptam Brahma. And therefore, Brahman which is not recognized as aham asmi iti. That is what? That is anaptam Brahma. Jnatam chet Brahma. Then we are already talking about apti. Jnatam Brahma, aptam Brahma. So we are not talking of any kind of a physical distance. We are talking of a distance that is created by one's own ignorance, which is bridged by your knowledge of Brahman. So then, if it is not yet known, then it has to be known. Simple. And so therefore, it's not like in the world, oh, you don't have this, okay, go here and buy this before it runs out. Go get this. That is not there. Nothing is there. So, therefore, the Brahma Prapti is there vidyaya. Vidya is the cause of Brahma Prapti. Why? Because the cause of not gaining Brahman was avidya. That's what it is. So that is the that is the answer. Now he is going to explain the answer. This is in short. He is just given this. Now he is going to flesh out the answer and talk about it from the standpoint of a particular example, which will make this very very clear. Okay. So paramarthatah
परमार्थतः
ब्रह्मस्वरूपस्यापि
ब्रह्मस्वरूपस्यापि
ततः
सतः
अस्य जीवस्य
अस्य जीवस्य
भूतमात्राकृत
भूतमात्राकृत
बाह्यपरिच्छिन्न
बाह्यपरिच्छिन्न
अन्नमयादि
अन्नमयादि
आत्मदर्शिनः
आत्मदर्शिनः
तद् आसक्तचेतसः
तद् आसक्तचेतसः
प्रकृतसङ्ख्यापूरणस्य
प्रकृतसङ्ख्यापूरणस्य
आत्मनः
आत्मनः
अव्यवहितस्य अपि
अव्यवहितस्य अपि
बाह्यसङ्ख्येय
बाह्यसङ्ख्येय
विषयासक्तचित्ततया
विषयासक्तचित्ततया
स्वरूप अभावदर्शनवत्.
स्वरूप अभावदर्शनवत्.
That is a mouthful and a lot of compounds, okay? And if you don't know what we are talking about, it'll make no sense at all. So, a little bit of a background for this. So he says that this knowing and the not knowing is just like the story of the 10th man, Dashamaha. And what is the story of the 10th man? Everybody knows it, but then they all want to hear it again. So here it goes, okay? So Devadatta, who was in charge of a ashram ferry trip to take all the other brahmacharis on a little outing, he was in charge. And so Devadatta, the Guru in fact didn't want them to go on a holiday, but Devadatta said, don't worry, hey Guru, I will take care of all of them and I will be in charge of bringing them back. So they go in the boat and they splash each other, they push each other onto the water, they swim back into the boat, and then they go there on the other side. And on the other side, what? I mean, they have been living on rice and dal one day, and then dal and rice another day. Okay, and so here they were let loose into a nice fair, and everybody had a jolly old time, a wonderful time they had, and they just did this, did that, played some things, and then ate to their heart's content, and then were ready to get back in the ferry. And Devadatta says, being the responsible one, says, well, all of you line up because I promised the teacher that I'll bring all of you back very well. And then what? He says, I'll start to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no! One of them is lost. One of us is gone. One of us is gone. Nashto Dashamaha. Dashamaha, the 10th one, Nashtaha is lost. Nashto Dashamaha, the Dashama is lost. Then everybody gangs up on him. Yeah, you just want to be the apple polisher and be the monitor. And for what? You don't even know how to count. You stand here, I'll count, says another fellow. And then he also counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no, yes, indeed, you are right. And they all cry. They don't even know who is lost, okay? And then they all cry. And then they say, did we leave him in the fair? Did we leave him? He was really fond of that, some game that they were playing there. So maybe he's in that booth. Maybe we should look there. And the other one says, what's the use? It's already dark. They've all packed up and they're all gone. And if we don't go back to the ashram, we'll lose this boat also. This is the last boat. Get in. No, how can I get in? How can we lose? Did he fall in the water? Is he going to be, is the body going to be swept up ashore? So saying, they all cried and cried and cried. And then a compassionate person, perhaps a sadhu, is happening to walk by, and the sadhu wonders what is wrong with them. And then when he hears the story, he says, okay, something is definitely wrong with all of them. Because in a minute he is able to sum up the situation, and he makes them all stand and count. And then what happened? 10, the number 10 is arrived. So now, from the question here which is being brought out in this particular part of the Bhashya is this, that Devadatta was the 10th man. Before he was grieving and beating his chest and hitting his head against a tree in frustration because he thought the 10th man was lost. So between the lost 10th man and the gained 10th man, what is the difference? Huh? Did they have to go fish the 10th man out of the water or from some other booth in the fair, in the Mela? No. Between the lost 10th man and the found 10th man, what is that distance? The distance is one of ajnanam, not knowing and not owning up the fact that I am the one that is lost, I am that 10th man, aham dashamaha, that is not understood. Similarly, in terms of knowing, in terms of the topic of Brahman, asti kaschit asti kinchit brahma iti, asti kinchit, something is there that is Brahman, asti brahma is understood, but not asmi brahma, aham brahmasmi is not understood. I am that Brahman is not understood. There is such a thing called Brahman, and the gain of which is the gain of ultimate is understood. And this is what is called paroksha jnanam. It's an indirect knowledge which the Shruti gives, and it has to be made direct by unfolding the whole thing. So this is just a thesis statement, Brahmavit apnoti param, a fact that Adi Shankara is going to bring it out in the next paragraph of the Bhashya after he takes care of this particular objection. So he says, Paramarthatah Brahmaswarupasyapi Satah Asya Jivasatah. So Paramarthatah, from the standpoint of the Absolute, Brahmaswarupasya api Satah. So even though the person is Brahmaswarupa, of the nature of Brahman. And what is the nature of Brahman? We already saw Sarvagatam, Sarvatma Bhutam. That which is all pervasive and that which is the truth of every single person, every single being, every single thing in the universe. So that kind of a Brahman, even though one is asya jivasya bhutamatra krita bahya parichinna annamayadi atmadarshinaha. So but the jiva is what? Is a Atmadarshan. Atmadarshan, oh, the person who wants to see the truth of themselves. Wow, what a lovely word. Atmadarshan. No. What kind of an Atmadarshan? The one who Atmadarshan here means the one who has the I notion. Atmadarshanam, Atmadarshan, the one who is committed to seeing the I or locating the I notion where Bhutamatra Krita, in everything, in the bhutas outside, Bhakya Parichinna, in the finite things outside, such as fire, air, etc. Meaning the physical body, which is the product of fire, air, etc. Bhutamatra Krita, Bhakya Parichinna, which are all finite. Air is finite, fire is finite, earth is finite, everything. And then parichinna annamayadi. So therefore one comes to the conclusion, I am just annamaya. I am a product of the food that I eat. I am a modification of the food that I eat. So this is the Atma Darshan. Here we are talking about this kind of a person who knows the Atma, who knows oneself in this manner. Not only that, tad asakta chetasaha, the one who is addicted to this particular view. What is the view? I am as good as this body. I am as good as the 5 elements. I am as good as what I eat. I am as good as what I do. I am as good as what other people think of me. So I am as good as being done in, etc., 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 etc. And so that is where the asakti is. The longing is just for the finite. That's what I was telling yesterday. You just hold on to a few things, and then when the Guru says, let them go, because you can just go to, you can see yourself as Brahman. Oh, will I still have these things? Yes, you will still have those things, because Brahman includes everything. That is very difficult to comprehend. And so, tad asakta chetasaha, which is like how prakrita sankhya puranasya atmanaha avyavahitasya api bahya sankhyeya vishayasakta chittataya swarupa abhava darshanavat. So, even though prakriti sankhya puranasya means, even though one in this example, one is the puraka. Puraka means the one who fills up the 10th man is this Devadatta. The one who fills up number 10. The one in the spot of number 10 is Devadatta. So Prakrita means whatever the Sankhya is under discussion. So now it happens to be 10. So the 10th man, even though being the man which needed to be found, even though being that lost person already, which was already found, and then even though Atmanaha avyavahitasya api, even though it had nothing to do with him, the loss of the 10th man has nothing to do with him, the loss was just a so-called loss. Bhashya sankhyeya vishayasakta chittataya. So where was his chittam? Where was his mind? His mind was busy in Bhashya sankhya vishayasakti. So his mind was busy, addicted to counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all he was doing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How did we get 9? 5 plus 4, 9. 7 plus 2, 9. 8 plus 1, 9. 3 plus 6, 9. Why are we keeping on getting 9? Where is the 10th one? So in all ways he's counting up and down, plus this, plus that, minus this, minus that. And that's where he is busy. His mind is addicted to that. Not addicted, obsessed with just that alone. This Swarupa Abhava Darshanavat. And then at the same time he is lamenting the loss of the 10th person. Swarupa Abhava Darshanavat means that this is, this is my Swarupa, and there is a disconnect from one's Swarupa. One is not able to look at one's Swarupa at all. Why? Because one is thinking that the 10th person is lost. One has not taken oneself into account. Just like the person who is blessed by avidya, self-ignorance, and then what? As a result of this dubious blessing, the person who does not own up oneself as, not the 10th man here, as Brahman. The one who keeps looking, see, this is the beautiful, analogy here. The one who keeps looking for Brahman without understanding that one alone is Brahman. Like the couplet from the Saint Kabir. Lehri dhoonde leher ko, kapada dhoonde soot, जीव ढूंढे ब्रह्म को तीनों ऊत के ऊत. So the little wave is looking for the ocean. Oh ocean, I hear you are God, and without you I feel very odd. And please show me to yourself. Show yourself to me. And then we are able to crack a smile at this little wave, all lost and looking for the whole. Not to be outdone, the fabric is in search of yarn. Oh yarn, where are you? I want to see you. I want to give thanks for making me. I want to, just do darshan. Which temple do you live in? Yarneshwara temple. Is there such a thing? Can I go there? And then what? And then also again when we hear the fabric trotting off in search of yarn, we smile. Then finally what? Jiva dhoomde brahma ko. The jiva similarly, the jaded, faded individual, obsessed with a sense of separateness from oneself and from others and from the whole, is looking for Brahman. And then Saint Kabir concludes, all of them are fools of fools of fools. Fools among fools. Meaning, if there is a whole room full of fools, then you do another test to find out the most foolish of all. And then you crown them Oot ke Oot. So fools of fools of fools among fools. And so this is basically this Swarupa Abhava Darshanavat. This is exactly like the 10th man not recognizing his own identity and his own existence as the Sankhya Puraka, as the one that's going to fill up the whole thing. Fill up, he's the filler-upper of this whole expedition. The expedition is incomplete without him because he makes up the 10th person. And so like this, without knowing that, this person who has got a wrong identification with the body, with the mind, with the senses, with everything finite, and is completely engaged in Bhashya, Sankhyeya. Sankhyeya means standing in for this numbering. Vishaya Shakta Chittataya. The person is engaged in not just counting 1 to 10, but 1 to 1 million. Desire number 1, not yet fulfilled. Desire number 2, I want this. Desire number 3, no, I'll have this. I want this. I want to go here. I want to go there. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that is where the person is obsessed. Just like Devadatta is obsessed with counting, this person is also obsessed with counting how much the person has in terms of money, in terms of accolades, in terms of achievements, fame, etc. And so that is the sad thing. Because of this, there is why does this happen? Because of which this happens is called Swarupa Abhava Darshanavat. Further, Paramartha Brahmaswarupa Abhava Darshana Lakshanaya Avidyaya Annamayadin Bhahyan Anatmanaha Atmatvena Pratipannatvat. So, furthermore, he says, Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Abhava Darshana Lakshanaya. So, the Lakshanaya means the one that is characterized by Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Abhava Darshana. So, that itself is the Lakshana. And what is the Lakshana? The Lakshana means here a feature. So characterized by this condition. What is the condition? Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Abhavaha. So the Abhava, the absence here. The absence of owning oneself up as Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Aham Asmi Iti. As I am that absolute Brahman, of that nature of Brahman I am, this kind of a, this kind of a owning up is not there, in whom that one is called Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Abhava Darshana, the Darshanaha. And so the one that is characterized by that, this Lakshanaya. And what is that now? What is being described? Avidyaya, by self-ignorance. And then what? Annamayadin Bhashyan Anatmanah Atmatvena Pratipannatvat. So two conditions are being described here. One is not knowing oneself as Brahman, as the truth of everything, number one. And number two, confusing oneself, therefore taking oneself to be what is one not. Not knowing who one is, and so taking oneself to be what one is not. What is one not? Just the Annamayadi. Bhashyan Anatmanaha Atmatvena Pratipannatvat. By taking that which one is not as oneself, the one suffers. And then the one suffers, and then therefore this is what is called Samsara. This is what exactly is Samsara. What is Samsara here? Paramartha Brahma Swarupa Abhava Darshanaya. So this avidya is there. This is what is called Moola Avidya, not knowing the truth of oneself. And that avidya, like the virus, keeps on mutating. And its, prominent mutation includes the person thinking of oneself as Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, etc. I am as good as what I eat. I am as good as the body. I am as good as my breathing. I am as good as my, as whatever I conclude about myself. I am as good as my mind. I am as good as my doership. I am a doer. And then what else? I am the receiver of other people's doings. This is what one does. And then there are two conditions. One is not recognizing oneself as the whole, and then the second condition is taking oneself to be what one is not. Both of them are because of self-ignorance. And then Annamayadi Anatmabhyah na anyaha aham asmi iti abhimanyate. So, abhimanyate means the person is convinced. The person considers oneself what? As Annamayadi Anatmabhyah. Other than all these loci of error. This Annamaya, Pranamaya, which is all going to be developed here in this particular Upanishad. Where, it is a modification of Annam, body. Body is the modification of food, respiration, etc. Pranamaya, and then Manomaya. The mind is itself a modification, doership, and then after that experiencership. These are the 5 places where one can fall into the error of assuming I am as good as this. That is why they are called various loci of error. Avidya, this is where avidya can, one takes a hit because of avidya, and that avidya manifests itself. The self-ignorance manifests itself as what? As wrong identification. So I am Anatma. I am nothing but Anatma. I am nothing other than Anatma. Iti abhimanyate. This is the conclusion that one has. Evam avidyaya atmabhutam api brahma anaptam syat. So therefore, atmabhutam api. Yes, you are correct. Brahman is what? Atmabhutam is oneself alone. Avidyaya, due to self-ignorance, anaptam syat. It is considered ungained. Therefore, it is seen as ungained. And then, so this is why this teaching is begun. This is why this is necessary. And then he concludes it, and we'll just read it today and then see it a little more in detail next week. Tasya evam avidyaya anapta brahmasvarupasya prakrita sankhya puranasya atmanah avidyaya anaptasya satah kenachit maritasya punah tasyaiva vidyaya aptihi yatha tatha shruti upadishtasya sarvatma brahmanah atmatva darshanena vidyaya tadaptihi upapadyate eva. A very nice conclusion. Tasya evam avidyaya anapta brahma swarupasya. So for this person who due to avidya, due to self-ignorance, did not have this understanding, did not gain this understanding that I am Brahman alone, who is what? Prakrita Sankhya Puranasya Atmanah. So who is the Atma which fills up everything, which fills up all numbers, everything. That is the one that which without which no number is, which is everything. And then because of avidyaya anaptasya satah. So for this person who doesn't have this understanding of Brahman, then for this person what happens? Kenachit smaritasya. Just like in the 10th man example, the person was reminded by a compassionate person. Punaha tasyaiva vidyaya aptihi. Then the Devadatta becomes enlightened as to the fact that he is the one he is searching for. So similarly, yatha, in the same manner, tatha, Shruti Upadishtasya, the person who has been taught by the Shruti, and then Sarvatma Brahmanah Atmatva Darshanena Vidyaya Tadaptihi Upapadyate Eva. So, the one who has been taught by the Shruti, Guru Mukhat, by the teacher, and then what? As him or her being Sarvatma Brahma. And so, from Asti Brahma, we go to Asmi Brahma. And that is the knowledge, and then that is where the Apti is called. So, Apti is not again away from time, away in time. Apti is just the gain of the so-called gain of oneself, because because of the fact that one is away from oneself due to self-ignorance. We'll stop here and then see more next time. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.